Hey, it's your boy, Kose Pose. You know, I listen exclusively to slam death metal and sometimes other stuff. Then one day I was introduced to normal music and oh boy, I've been listening to a lot of weird shit. Consider this series as my therapy session as we delve into strange sounds. This is the Shaggs.
Oh, the rich people want what the poor people got. And parents are the ones who really care. Oh, our parents. My pal's name is Football. He always likes to know. The food scare. Why even Dracula will be there. It's time for games. It's time.
Yes, this is real, and it's glorious. The Shaggs is a group of three sisters, Betty, Helen, and Dorothy Wiggin, who were dragged out of school by their father, Austin Wiggin, to become famous musicians. The opposite of what happened to me. He believed that his mother had predicted that he would marry a strawberry blonde wife, have 2 sons that she would never see, and 3 daughters that would form a musical group that would become worldwide famous. And no, this is not a joke. He actually believed in that kind of stuff. Having 2/3 of her predictions come true, he bought his daughters instruments, had them wear matching outfits, and homeschooled them so they could focus more on practicing. Now if this sounds a bit cultish, it's because it probably was. The Shaggs name comes from the popular shag hairstyle, and no, it's not about fucking, which is ironic because it fucked my ears up. They only practiced for a year before going into the studio to record this masterpiece, Philosophy of the World. As you heard from the preview there, this album is a beautiful mess. The sisters can barely sing in tune and their vocals are very janky and rhythmically confusing. Drums are so badly played I can't even tell if it's syncopated, and guitars played equally janky. I don't even know if the guitars are out of tune or they're just playing too hard. Anyway, let's listen to them. Let's start with the title track, Philosophy of the World. Now this song is about how people suck and that they'll never be happy. It's a nihilistic song about how nobody's happy about who they are and what they got, and that the people who has it won't share it. This is a very depressing song, and I love it. Put some heavy chords under it and it becomes every doom metal song. But instead, we got this.
You can never please anybody.
I will say that it feels oddly punk rock. The drums here is mostly playing snare on the main beat and guitar sloppiness kinda adds to it. But still, at least we got a song about the ultimate philosophy of the world being a selfish mess we must get out of. So in short, this song is about capitalism. Clever girls. My Pal Foot. Everyone's favorite. Now this song is about loss of their beloved cat, who's hopefully not named Foot. I mean seriously, who names their cat Foot? He would be so bullied by the other cats. Why can't you name him something normal? Like Mittens. Or Paul if you're weird. Anyway, this Foot character likes to roam. A lot. The girls try to look for him and plot twist, he's behind that tree. Riveting. But the story didn't end that way. Turns out their real cat ran away and they never found it again. They just added a happy end to the song. I actually really love the drums here at the beginning. She tries so hard to play a drum fill and she fails so magically that it becomes adorable. Anyway, moral of the story, don't get emotionally attached to anything that likes to wander from time to time. I mean, if the album sleeve art is based on the real cat, it would make a bit more sense. I mean, I would fucking run away if someone drew me like that. Please draw me like that. Next song is Who Are Parents? Yeah, Who Are Parents? Yeah, first of all, the title alone sends my English through a whiplash. Second,
Who are parents? Parents are the ones who are always there.
parents are the one who forced you to play in a band. This is what I mean by this band feels cultish. Like they were forced by their father to play in a band against their will, and they wrote a song about how great parents are. I'll be honest, I kinda love it. Now after listening to this album for a while, you can hear that all the music is generally the same. Guitars out of tune, drums played off, vocals sung in a really disjointed way. How did they make an album this awful? Is this some weird avant-garde art? Did they play this awfully on purpose to piss off their father? Well, no and no. There's actually a very good reason why this album sounds the way it does. They only had 1 day to record all the music. Like me! Their father took all his savings, drove them to a record company, struck a deal and had them record this album in a hurry. Because he wanted them on tape while they were still hot. Yeah. Your dad is fucked up, and my dad fought people at the supermarket when there was a discount. Before the financial crisis, I mean, that's commonplace now. So imagine, if you will, being a musician still in training, your father just drags you out of your room, drives you out of town to sign a contract, and just a few days later was told to record at least 12 songs you've written so far in one day with minimal breaks, while dealing with a strict guardian and a recording engineer laughing his ass off at you. That's this album in a nutshell. Believe it or not, the result of this album is mostly due to time pressure from their father. I mean, sometimes you can make music under a strict time limit. In fact, there was a fad a few months ago where musicians on YouTube would make a song in an hour. But the Shaggs are not professional musicians. They were young and still in training. Their father rushed them to the studio hoping to make a gold mine out of them. But instead, he got a collapsing cave and just told himself, "Nah, this is fine, we'll just dig our way out of this somehow." Their father also paid for manufacturing. They made 1,000 copies of the album, but only 100 ended up being sold and circulated. The other 900 copies were either 1. Locked in a warehouse since they could only sell 100, 2. Kept by their father, who was afraid they would sell out too fast and people would steal their style, or 3, the most likely scenario, destroyed by the record company to hide their shame. There was a rumor floating around saying this was all intentional, but that's not true. They made a recording session album a few years later called Shaggs' Own Thing. There, they sound much better. My Pal Foot Foot is more listenable there, and you can actually get a better idea what they were going for.
Don't live here no more. My pal foot.
Their father died in 1975. The same year, probably a few days after, the Shaggs discontinued. Kinda like when a person divorces an obese spouse when they lost weight. Like, I'm sorry, Brenda, but you can have standards now. I'm breaking up with you, by the way. They did talk about how their father was mostly in control. He told them to practice, and they obeyed. The album would have been forgotten if it wasn't for Frank Zappa talking about it and playing it on a Dr. Demento show. In fact, this album did inspire Frank Zappa, who called them better than the Beatles, and he was right. Then the band NRQB found a copy of the vinyl and re-released it under their record label, back into the public, like a man-raging bull. The songs remind me a lot of Captain Beefheart's Trump Mask replica, except the unsyncopated off drums and sloppy guitars were unintentional. The Shaggs are also an example of outsider music, where their art differs from the social norm. Kurt Cobain, of all people, said this was his favorite album. I thought that was a joke at first, but after listening to the Shaggs for a while, I'll be honest, I can actually hear some similarities. Only you know I'd rather listen to the Shaggs than Nirvana. There's been plenty of interviews, a theater play that not many people liked.
How can we just stop going to school? My dad knows what he's doing.
It's gonna make us money.
That's good. That sounded like something.
And apparently a movie has been in the works, but no information has come out, so it's probably dead in the waters. Unlike me, they actually used to play live. It was mostly at a local nursing home and people would throw soda cans at them. I mean, they live in America, their health system is bad enough. Why add the torture? But a few years ago, they reunited, and instead of playing it right, they're playing it just as badly as they did on the album, which kinda makes it avant-garde and beautiful. So beautiful. And again, this is my reaction to Roadkill, but still. Dot Wiggin has also started her own music group simply called Dot Wiggin Band. It's sort of a spiritual following to the Shaggs, but here the drums are on tempo and the guitars are actually in tune.
She gets on her banana bike and pedals all around. She gets on her banana bike and...
Did you guys know this was released on Alternative Tentacle? Yes, the same record company run by Jello from Dead Kennedys. That's actually kind of awesome. What's actually kind of funny is that their grandmother's prediction sort of came true. I mean, they may not be world-famous rock stars like their father wanted, but they do have a massive underground following, both hated and loved. All hail Grandma, the know-it-all. Now, my question is, was the father embarrassed or in denial of the band? Well, I believe that he was genuinely proud of his daughters, or just badly timed with the album. If he gave them another 2 to 4 years to practice, then they could have made a better, but easily forgettable album, which luckily they did not. But do I think he was in denial of the album being bad? Well, inside the sleeve of the original vinyl that he apparently wrote himself, He writes things like, the Shaggs are real, pure, unaffected by outsider music. They are sisters and members of a large family where mutual respect and love for each other is at an unbelievable high. He probably clinged a bit too hard to this record and hoped this would bring them fame. So what can we learn from the Shaggs? Well, sometimes time pressure can destroy music, but sometimes it creates art. Anyway, this is the end. I'm Kose Pose, and until next time, I'm gonna get blackout drunk. Oh, happy Jews never leave me.